Have you ever wondered about women who perform oral sex on their husbands? That's what I'll be talking about in this video. So, pay close attention because I'll explain it through stories so you can understand it better. I invite you to follow me and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss our next stories. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And when it comes to intimacy, how you react to the natural decline of passion, how you respond to the routine that creeps in, that reaction determines whether the relationship survives or slowly suffocates. Most men never learn this. They assume that love alone is enough. But love without effort, love without attention, love without vulnerability, that's not love. That's habit. And habit, when left unchecked, becomes the death of desire. Anna and Manuel had been married for 10 years. During the first stage of their relationship, everything was like a fairy tale. They met at a party of mutual friends and from the very first moment felt an undeniable attraction. Manuel, with his warm smile and sharp sense of humor, had won the heart of Anna, a determined woman brimming with life. Every day was a shared adventure. Romantic dinners, spontaneous getaways, and deep conversations that connected them on a level they had never experienced with anyone else. Time, however, has a peculiar way of softening those intense moments. After a decade together, Anna noticed that the vibrant spark with which their relationship began no longer shone as brightly. It was as if that initial passion had gradually faded, replaced by routine and daily obligations. Life had presented them with several challenges. 2 young children who demanded their attention at every moment, increasingly demanding jobs, and a home that required constant maintenance. All of this inevitably relegated intimacy to a distant, almost forgotten place. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When their thoughts were consumed by obligations and responsibilities, their souls reflected that. They became partners in logistics rather than lovers. And that is a slow death that most couples never recover from. Anna remembered clearly how things used to be. Those moments when they could spend hours gazing into each other's eyes, simply enjoying each other's presence, came flooding back. The stolen kisses in the kitchen while preparing dinner, the nighttime walks where they shared dreams and plans, and the long talks in bed until dawn had become distant, almost unreal memories. She felt a deep longing for that connection, that complicity that seemed lost in the chaos of daily life. Even though she loved Manuel, Anna couldn't help but notice that something fundamental was missing between them. Sometimes she felt alone, even when they were together in the same room, and that worried her. She didn't want their marriage to become a mere coexistence without passion, without that emotional bond that had once united them. She knew she needed to do something, but she wasn't sure what or how. She didn't want to overwhelm Manuel with her concerns, but she also couldn't ignore what she felt. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future." Anna was realizing that she had been anxiously dependent on the future, hoping things would get better without taking action. But happiness in a relationship is not automatic. It requires presence, intention, and the willingness to be vulnerable. One afternoon, while the children played in the park and Anna sat on a bench watching them, she began to seriously consider what she could do to change the situation. She decided she couldn't stand idly by and watch her marriage slowly fade away. She wanted to rekindle that part of their relationship, but how? Where to begin? That night, while browsing the internet, she came across a book that discussed the importance of communication in relationships, especially in the realm of intimacy. The title immediately caught her eye, The Art of Reconnecting, How to Revive the Passion in Your Marriage. Without hesitation, she downloaded it and began to read. As she turned the pages, something inside Anna began to change. The book not only offered practical advice, but also prompted her to reflect on her own relationship. It spoke to her of the importance of being vulnerable with her partner, of not being afraid to express desires and frustrations, and of how lack of communication could erode love over time. The book taught her that intimacy wasn't just physical. True intimacy is built on open and honest communication, on sharing fears, desires, and hopes without reservation. Inspired by what she had read, Anna made a decision. That very night, after putting the children to bed, when silence had fallen over the house and only the distant murmur of traffic broke the calm, Anna decided to talk to Manuel. At first, she struggled to find the right words. She didn't want it to sound like criticism, nor did she want him to feel blamed for something that was, in reality, a shared responsibility. But she knew she had to be honest, that if she wasn't, their relationship would continue down the same path. Manuel, tired after a long day at work, looked at her in surprise when Anna began to speak. He hadn't expected this conversation, but he listened attentively, noticing the vulnerability in her words. Anna explained how she felt, how she missed the connection they used to have. She spoke of her fear that their marriage would become monotonous, lacking the affection and passion they had shared at the beginning. She confessed that, although she still loved him deeply, she felt something was missing between them. Manuel, surprised but grateful for Anna's honesty, looked into her eyes tenderly and told her that he too had noticed the growing distance between them, though he hadn't known how to address it. For years, Manuel had felt the same disconnection, but had assumed it was part of life, something inevitable after so much time together. However, hearing Anna express her feelings opened his eyes. He realized it wasn't just him, that they had both let routine and responsibilities pull them apart, and that gave him the strength to open up as well. He confessed to Anna that, although he loved her as much as ever, sometimes he felt he didn't know how to reach her emotionally, that he was afraid of appearing vulnerable or being misunderstood. Epictetus taught, "No great thing is created suddenly." The conversation that reconnected them was not created suddenly. It was built through years of silence, through accumulated distance, and through the courage to finally speak. And that courage is what saved their marriage. That night, for the first time in a long time, Anna and Manuel spoke from the heart. Together, they decided they didn't want their relationship to continue deteriorating. They knew they couldn't let everyday life come between them. As a first step, they planned a weekend getaway, something they hadn't done since before their children were born. They left the children with their grandparents and allowed themselves time alone together, without interruptions or worries. It was a weekend filled with laughter, deep conversations, and rediscovery. They began sharing fantasies, desires, and secrets they had kept hidden for years. One evening, while they were having a candlelit dinner at a cozy restaurant, Anna asked Manuel what he truly desired in their intimacy. After a moment of reflection, Manuel confessed that he had always longed for greater closeness, not only physical, but also emotional. He wanted to feel more connected to her, but he had never dared to express it for fear of being misunderstood or appearing vulnerable. Anna, with a serene smile, assured him that she was willing to explore this together as long as they both felt comfortable and respected. That night, they allowed themselves to be completely honest with each other. They talked about their deepest desires, their boundaries, what scared them, and what excited them. It wasn't just a physical reconnection, but an emotional one. They realized that by communicating openly and without judgment, they could build a deeper relationship, one in which they both felt loved, respected, and understood. Back home, Anna and Manuel made a pact. They would continue to dedicate time to their relationship. They knew life would still be busy, that the children and work would continue to demand their attention, but they also knew their relationship needed nurturing. They agreed to have regular dates, moments alone where they could continue exploring and sharing their desires and needs. They didn't want the spark they had rekindled to die out again. Over time, their relationship changed. The spark they thought was lost had reignited, but this time with a deeper connection, one that went beyond physical passion. They learned that true intimacy wasn't just about physical acts, but about sincere communication, mutual respect, and a constant commitment to continue loving and supporting each other through every stage of life. These stories help us understand the importance of both women and men paying attention to intimacy, since a woman who performs oral sex on her husband will be more loved for showing that she enjoys pleasing her partner. But let's go deeper into what this really means, because most men misunderstand it entirely. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When a woman engages in this act, it is not merely a physical act, it is a reflection of her emotional state. her level of trust, and her desire to connect on a level that words cannot reach. And when she does it because she genuinely wants to, because she enjoys pleasing him, it is a gift that cannot be bought or demanded. It is the ultimate expression of surrender and trust. But when it becomes a chore, when it is done out of obligation or fear, it becomes hollow. And that hollowness is felt by both partners, even if they never speak of it. The real truth, the dark truth that nobody wants to say, is that many women perform oral sex not because they want to, but because they feel they have to. They do it to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, to maintain the illusion that everything is fine. And that is the death of intimacy. It is a betrayal of the self, a quiet erasure of their own desires. And when a woman erases herself in this way, resentment grows. It festers beneath the surface, poisoning the relationship from the inside. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And when a woman feels she must perform sexual acts out of obligation, her reaction is to retreat emotionally. She may go through the motions, but her heart is not in it. And her partner will feel that absence, even if he cannot name it. He will feel that she is not fully there. And that feeling will create distance, not closeness. So the real question is not whether she performs the act, but why she performs it. Does she do it because she wants to, because she enjoys the intimacy, because she feels connected? Or does she do it because she feels pressured, because she fears the consequences of saying no? The answer to that question determines everything. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence on the future. When a woman performs oral sex out of obligation, she cannot enjoy the present. She is anxiously dependent on the future, hoping to avoid conflict or preserve the relationship. That is not intimacy. That is survival. And survival is not the foundation of a loving relationship." The truth is, women who genuinely enjoy pleasing their partners are rare. Not because they are incapable, but because they have been conditioned to suppress their own desires, to prioritize their partner's needs over their own. They have been taught that their pleasure is secondary, that their role is to give, not to receive. And that conditioning is the enemy of true intimacy, because true intimacy is mutual. It is a giving and receiving, a balance of power and vulnerability. When a woman performs oral sex out of genuine desire, she is reclaiming her own pleasure. She is saying, "I want this because it brings me joy." And that is powerful. That is the foundation of a healthy sexual relationship. But when she does it out of obligation, she is relinquishing her power. She is saying, "I will do this to keep you happy." And that is a recipe for resentment. So if you want to understand women who perform oral sex on their husbands, you must understand the distinction between desire and duty. Duty is the death of passion. Desire is its lifeblood, and desire cannot be demanded, bought, or negotiated. It can only be cultivated. It grows in an environment of safety, trust, and emotional connection. It withers in an environment of pressure, obligation, and fear. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. And when a man realizes that he cannot demand desire, he gains the strength to create the conditions where desire can flourish. He stops pressuring. He stops expecting. He starts listening. He starts connecting. And in that space, desire grows naturally. The story of Anna and Manuel is a testament to this truth. It was not the act itself that saved their marriage. It was the conversation. It was the vulnerability. It was the willingness to reconnect on an emotional level. And that connection is what made the physical act meaningful again. Because when a woman feels seen, heard, and understood, she opens up. She gives freely. She enjoys the act because it is an extension of the love she feels, not a duty she must perform. And that is the real secret. That is the truth that most men never learn. So if you are a man who wants his partner to perform oral sex, you must first ask yourself, have I created the conditions where she feels safe to give freely? Have I listened to her desires? Have I made her feel seen and valued? Or have I pressured her, expected her, and taken her for granted? The answer to that question will determine everything, because a woman who gives freely gives with her whole heart. and a woman who gives with her whole heart is unforgettable. If you liked this story, remember to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, write a comment, and share the video. It helps me a lot if you do.